This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Yeah, shit. Come on. I want to play more. Oh, shit. Kylie's here.
Hello, hello. Hey, Fernand. Hello, Alberto.
Hi, Kylie. Happy to hear you. Good evening. Good night. Alberto. Can you hear me good, Kylie?
Yeah, I can hear perfect, but should I invite Alberto to come up or?
Yeah, I already sent them an invite, but if you can, yeah, you can send them an invite too. I don't know which one is gonna prompt better than the other.
Oh, okay, I didn't know how what happened if you sent one or not, but I can see him as a listener, and I was wondering what's going on.
Yeah, maybe just gotta give him a minute or two. Ah,
Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿No? ¿Todo bien? No, no recibí el invite, no, pero todo bien, todo tranquilo. ¿Cómo andan ustedes?
muy bien.
Me
Muy bien,
alegro.
Alberto, buenas noches, buenas tardes, no sé dónde
Buenos,
eres.
buenos días, buenas noches, tardes o madrugadas. Soy de Uruguay, soy uruguayo de Uruguay.
Alberto, you
Dime,
want me to conduct this in Spanish or English? I was
for me it's the same. I mean, what's the people coming here from where normally from?
cool.
For
Yeah,
me, it's the
because
same. I mean, I have no problems doing it. I prefer a bit doing it in English, but because many more people might come here if it's in English. I think I don't know. It's up to you. For me, it's the same.
I go by feel. I go by. Right now, I'm gonna recite this introduction in English because that's how I wrote it. But as we're gonna be talking, if one word slips out of the other in Spanish, I'm gonna respond in Spanish or however. I'm just gonna go with the flow. So let me kick off your introduction here. Meet Alberto Daniel Hill, cybersecurity specialist, public speaker, writer, developer, and entrepreneur. Regarded as the first hacker to be wrongfully sentenced to serve time in prison in the Latin American country of Uruguay. And he is also an early adopter of cryptocurrencies. Good evening, Albert. Welcome to Let's Hang with Fernand podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me here, Fernando. Thank you, Mikali. It's a pleasure to be here. What an introduction. Where did you get that information from?
Well, I did a little bit of my homework. I'm just look over your profile. I see you've done some extensive work in the cybersecurity field, and I want to ask you what led you to that endeavor.
Well, actually, when I was a child, when I was, yeah, very young, and I'm talking about being 7, 8 years old, I went to the house of a relative, and that in that house they had something that for me was mind blowing. I saw a device connected to the TV, and it was an Atari 2600. And for me, when I saw that, I said, "What's that?" And they showed me what it was. Started playing, I think, Pac-Man, the first game that I ever played, and then another games, and I was fascinated by that. Um, well, um, I had that on my mind. My parents couldn't afford buying me such a device. I mean, it was very expensive at that time for for, for people in Uruguay. I mean, we weren't most of us able to afford that. And a year after that, then the person who was living next to me at the apartment where I was living with my father um, came to us and he lent me a computer, a very small computer who was a Spectrum. Um, it was a computer that had 1 kilobyte of RAM. So imagine 1 kilobyte of RAM, uh, equivalent to 1,024 characters. So imagine you type 1,024 characters and the memory is over. What can you do with 124 characters? Well, you can write a letter of, you can write 10 tweets, the content of 10 tweets. Yeah, it's that. Well, with that, I learned to program in BASIC. That was the language that was included in that computer. And after 6 months, the owner of the notebook, then it wasn't a notebook, sorry, the computer, came and asked it back. And okay, for me, it was like, it was so traumatic. I started crying. I was really feeling really bad. And my parents saw me, okay, and my dad made an effort, saved some money, and a few weeks after that, a couple of weeks after that, we went to a computer house and he bought me my first computer. That was a computer, Spectrum Plus, that had 48 kilobytes of RAM. Uh, and yeah, well, I started playing games with that. And at one point, I got a device that was connected to an expansion port of the computer. That what it is was had a red button that was freezing the processor at a certain time. Well, I started playing the short story long. I started understanding assembler, which is a very low level language. You're basically communicating directly with the processor. It's very hard to, people do not program that. It's something that is for almost at a cheap level. And I started learning that. And I learned things, for example, that if I saw in the code a command that was LD, which means that was for load a certain value in a record of the processor, comma, a value, for example, LD, comma 5, okay, it was pretty likely that if the game had 5 life, and I searched for all the LD5 and modified the 5 for, instead of 5, I put 10. At one point, I will hit the jackpot and I will modify the numbers of life in that game. And it worked. And that was my first hack, basically. And I was like, yeah, wow. And I was a child. Everybody, my friends were playing soccer in the street, and I was with the computer all day. And the fascination and curiosity I had were endless, like today. So basically, ever since that moment, I was involved with computers, with uh, finding a ways of making the programs work in a way that are not supposed to work, and basically that is what hacking is all about. Is entering into systems, computer programs, and make them do things that they're not supposed to do and modify them. And yeah, for different reasons. Yeah, and then I went to school, secondary school, and then I entered into university and I got degree on computer sciences. Uh, and well, then I started working, and I have always worked into things related to infosec, information security, computer forensics, consultancy services, projects related to the ISO 27000, all kind of fields of the cybersecurity. Yeah, that's basically the story of my life into this world that has always been related to computers and hacking and security.
I want to know, like, when you go to get education and when you go to learn about cyber security and the concept and the theory, and like how much of it is technical and how much of it do you use critical thinking? Like how, like, is it patterns? Like, is there something, like, how do you figure out a problem Like how do you identify a problem and how do you solve it? Like what do they teach you about?
Okay, it's with practice, a lot of practice. You have to have, I mean, you have to be very skilled. You have to, when it comes to um, frustration, you have to master the art of frustration because you are going to be in front of a system computer or anything for hours and hours and hours. It's pretty likely that you will not get any result, but you cannot stop. And curiosity is the key in order to find that thing that makes you get what you want from that system. Regarding your question, how much is technical, how much is analytical skills? Well, technical, let's say that you have to know the basics technically in order to do it. Yeah, surely. I don't know. That's a very good question. I think that yeah, if you probably we are talking about less than half of the work is knowing the technical stuff, and 60% is analytical thinking. It's yeah. I would taking a honestly, that's a very good question. That I will do a little bit of research to see what the experts say about that. But I would say that it's more about your mindset and the way you think, the way you approach by instinct. Because after a certain time of doing this, you are in front of a system and you can directly just watching at the system. You can have an idea that the system might have a certain kind of flaw in certain place. You get that it's like an instinct that you can see by certain I don't know things that you said you mentioned patterns. Yeah, maybe it's patterns, maybe it's like yeah, it's just tiny details that only experience gives you that, and yes, yeah, it's the way you get to. Yeah, obviously, there's also a methodology of working depending on what you are doing. In case of pen testing web applications, okay, you have a certain structure in different methodologies in order to approach that. That yeah, you are following something that is not like okay, it's you said that I am a writer of an author of a book. Yeah, I wrote a book, but you know what? When I started writing the book, I thought, okay, writing a book is about writing and then putting all together, and I have the book. And I did that. I started writing about things, and at one point I realized that everything was a mess. I mean, it was impossible to understand. It was a disaster. So I said, "Whoa, why is that?" Oh, maybe you have to follow certain methodology to write a book. So and then what I did was I started reading books on how to write books. Yeah, so everything basically, if you want to do something, yeah, you have to follow certain methodology, certain I don't know norm of reference, or you have to follow certain points in order to get to the destination. And yeah, I have to learn how to write books in order to write the book. In order to test the security of an application web, you have different some ways of approaching that, methodologies to do it. But still, that doesn't guarantee you that if you follow the methodology, it's a step one, step three, at the end you get a result system hacked. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. If it was as simple as that, there would be a program that would actually be executed and all the system would be hacked. No, it takes much more than that, and that's when the the, the curiosity and the experience and yeah, and the instinct of a person in this field comes into this game and makes the difference between being successful or not that and breaking a system. But yeah, I think it's much more the time experience that you acquire during the years. But and technically, yeah, you have to have a background, and it's for me impossible to believe that somebody who doesn't know the basis regarding computer sciences could become a hacker. Somebody who can be good at hacking. Yeah, you have to have a solid base, I think. In my case, I have a a degree in computer sciences. The university gave me almost about 0% of knowledge regarding cybersecurity. What I learned from my own, and then taking courses about that. But university for me was, yeah, didn't. I mean, it's just a piece of paper that certifies that I approved certain courses, and in 5 years of my life, and that's it. All I learned was basically how to hack the systems of the university during that period of time. That was the well, I was just kidding for the records. I didn't do that. I would have done that, and I will never do it. Oh, I'm sorry, my selective work in English. I will never do it again. I meant I would never do it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I expressed myself incorrectly.
Alberto, I want to ask you, like, what has been one of your most or the most notable case that you have been a part of when it comes to hacking? What has been the biggest problem you have solved
Well, actually, uh, yeah.
in cybersecurity? Like, what has been the biggest, your
Well,
biggest?
I cannot. I mean, I don't talk about the things I have done, the things that I eventually might have, hypothetically speaking, done in when it comes to hacking systems. Uh, First of all, I don't like bragging about things that I have done. I don't like people that well. If you brag, actually, you can get into trouble big nowadays. That we have legislation regarding an appropriate use of computer systems and what is a crime and not is a crime. But I can tell you that when it comes to the field of cybersecurity, I can tell you what has been for me um, one of the most amazing things that I got to see and contact the people that did it was listening and being contacted and being in touch and becoming almost friends with some of the guys that were in a case that was called the Xbox Gang, that was featured in Wired magazine and in many other media. That was basically when a group of hackers um, entered into the Microsoft facility, and they found that there was on a table a prototype of an Xbox that was going to be released a year after that moment, and they grabbed the prototype and they left the building with it. And those guys were so skilled, so good at reverse engineering, that they were able to start building Xbox based on that prototype, and they started selling it. Wow, those guys started making a lot of money selling those devices that they stole from Microsoft, and then they were very good, and they went for that, and then the next thing that they did was they hacked the systems of the government of the USA, and they stole the prototype of an Apache helicopter from there. That was information completely confidential, and then they hack, I think, um, uh, si- Hollywood studio, and they stole a movie that was going to be released from there. Okay, at the end they were arrested. It was a group of young people, and it's a story that is very sad in many points because those guys were like, it was a group of about 10 guys in total, and yeah, many of them are dead now. Some committed suicide in prison. Others were victims of dying in other circumstances. But the ones that are left, wow, I saw how prison destroyed them in terms of um, the people that they were before that. That there were people that had, I don't know, um, were very confident and very skilled, to people that were basically destroyed and giving up and not wanting anything with computers anymore after that experience. That just for some reason traumatic. When on the other hand, I know people that have been serving prison time for, for example, for hacking a SCADA system, which means it's industrial control systems, that have served 11 years in prison just because they wanted to make an example of him, and that person served that time. He's out, and that person now is working. I mean, he wants to it that there were three people that in the life of a person that they make a huge impact in the life of every of us. There's always three people that one theory, and this guy one posted that there were three people that were involved in his success now, and he mentioned me as one of them because I was really pushing him hard in order to came back after prison into doing what he loved the most, that was the hacking computing. He was very, yeah, he was really somebody who didn't want to touch a computer again after 10 years in prison. I don't know how many years in solitary confinement, which is basically the worst torture a human being can be exposed to. Well, he is back and he's doing things that are right. Then another guy who was arrested committing fraud, stealing for certain company, spent a couple of years in prison. So he's out. He's doing things that are correct. So um, all of the people that I know that committed computer crimes were arrested. None of them actually came back to prison for that, and not all of them that I know uh, are all doing things that are in the field of cybersecurity and are doing good things, which is amazing, really. I think that in prison in general, once you go to prison, it's pretty likely that within certain time frame, 2 years, something like that, 60-70% of the inmates are going to at one point come back to being arrested and coming back to prison, and that is not the case in into this kind of crime that are very special. And the profile of us is unlikely the profile of any other criminal. So when a hacker or a computer or a cybersecurity professional for some reason enters into prison, yeah, it's like being yeah, being with a T-shirt saying I'm a tourist. I know nothing about this environment. You are living in a world that you have no clue what this is all about, and people, if you're lucky, like me, perceive you as somebody who has skills that are very, I don't know, they have no idea. They only know that the person can do things that nobody else can do. Is that it's here as superstars, uh, and that gives you a huge advantage in prison, which means they don't bother you. Actually, they try to become close to you in order to try to see if your knowledge can be used for them in order to commit crimes that it's to try find new business opportunities in the world of crime. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry that I talk too much, but the story that I cannot say about myself what was the biggest achievement that I got. Uh, Things that I have done for the government or in private companies, I cannot tell because of non-disclosure agreements in the middle. But I can tell you what in this field were one of the most interesting experience or stories that I heard, and I was lucky to talk to some of the people that were part of that story. Yes, go
Yes,
ahead.
Alberto. At some point you said short story long, and I was giggling right before this answering this question of Fernand, and I was giggling because we love long stories, because we love details, and I was going to ask you about this. You just mentioned writing a book, but actually I can see you have 3 books. Uh, and I was wondering if you can tell us more about that. How did you thought of going into writing?
Wow, that's a very interesting story, and that I mean, you know, I don't believe in accidents. I mean, I believe that things in life uh, are happening. I mean, the universe is a beautiful machine that is watching us from above and making fun of our lives. Okay, um, I never in my life thought about writing a book, but I was into prison, and one day during that time in prison, I opened my eyes and I was blinded by certain lights. and I started listening weird noises, beep, 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 beep. I said, I thought to myself, where am I? And then I saw that sounds, noises that became voices, and then I saw somebody approaching me, dressed in white, and the person was like looking at me and said, "Do you know where you are?" And I tried to say no, but I realized I couldn't talk because I have a tube in my mouth, and I tried to say no, moving my head, but and my eyes, and the person said, "Okay, don't worry. You are in the hospital of," say the name of the hospital. "You have been in coma. You are in intensive care unit of the hospital, and everything's going to be all right." Okay. Uh, a couple of minutes after I was I mean, I couldn't process what was going on because I was trying to remember what was the last thing that happened. Okay, well, I did have an accident? How is that I ended up here? This is like a movie. And then I started hearing people that were shouting at each other, a very strong discussion, and they were speaking so loud that I could listen clearly what they were talking about. And basically, they were saying that I was in a very in a position where I was very, I mean, not stable. That I recovered the conscience, but I could actually die at any time. And one of them would said, "I don't want the person to die here. Yeah, let's transfer him to the another hospital." I mean, imagine if this person dies here. I mean, I would have to fill all this paperwork. It would be like a pain in the ass to do all the bureaucracy when if he passes away here. I don't want that problem. Let's transfer him to the other place. So yeah, I don't want to deal with the problem of him dying here. And I was listening to that, and instead of feeling fear or panic or becoming like crazy, I was feeling like I think, smiling as much as I could with the juice in my mouth, and I was thinking, I can't believe it. These guys are talking about me eventually dying here, and they don't realize that I'm listening to that. And for me, it was funny, and at the same time, I didn't feel any fear, any kind of negative emotion was with me. On the other hand, I was feeling such a calm that I was feeling really calm, in peace. And at one point, I heard a voice, and it was a voice that I recognized it very fast, but it couldn't be. It was the voice of my mother, and then another voice, and it was another voice that I recognized also. And my mother was kissing in the cheek, and she was talking with the director of the prison, the sub-director, and yeah, I don't know how. Well, my mother got notified of me being there. I was in a prison that is in the middle of Uruguay. It takes 2 hours and a half to reach there. My mother got a bus, and she has many health issues, and it's hard for her to walk. She has arthritis, and many problems that are making her very difficult to move. But yeah, she was there, and okay, the protocol in cases of inmates being sent to prison is that they have to be always escorted by at least one police, and they have to be handcuffed to the bed, and okay, and nobody could approach them or have contact with the inmate. But okay, the director of the prison that was talking to my mother, he said, "Okay, yeah, you can go and you can kiss your son," because he probably thought, "Okay, maybe this is the last time the mother will see the son." And my mother came, and I was like feeling so bad for her. I mean, oh my God, I I want to. My mom seeing that. I mean, I felt really, really guilty of that, even though it was not my fault. And she kissed me on my cheek, and she told me how much she loved me. And yeah, that was beautiful. The protocol says that no, that was not supposed to touch me or anything, but in that case, yeah, she did it. Uh, okay, and then I saw that okay, there were two policemen there, and then another cell police because they were confused in the swift of being escorting me, and I saw three policemen. I was in intensive care unit of a hospital. They were talking about my death, the doctors. My mother appeared out of the blue and became friends with the director and director of the prison. They started making jokes and laughing. I said, "Holy shit, this is unbelievable! I will have to write a book about this." And then I stopped for a second and said, "Oh no, I know myself. I'm such a procrastinator that I will never write a book. Come on, Alberto, get real." Okay, after being released and 3 years after that, I said, no, I will write a book. This story is like crazy, and I want to spread this story. I didn't start doing that for my motivation. It was not making money. It was a challenge, more or less, like everything in Harlequin is a challenge. And okay, I told you how frustrating it was initially not having a methodology to do it. Basically, I was writing useless pages that has no sense, no content, no structure. To starting writing things with certain consistency and in a proper way. Um, and I think it was in May of 2020 that I said, okay, at this point, I think I have learned enough in order to yeah, go ahead and get this done. And I set a deadline to be published, the book published of October 13 of 2020. That was my birthday. It's October 13, but by the way, it's in 2 days, my birthday. Um, and well, I was working hard and I was able to do it on October 13 of 2020. The book at 10 p.m. was published in Amazon Kindle platform. It was available for everybody. And for me, yeah, that was success. I mean, success for me in that way, in that situation, was not selling X amount of book, gaining X amount of money. No, for me, it was being able to have in that book with the story published and available for everybody per certain date. And yeah, and I was very happy, and yeah, it was a success. That no, I never thought I would do it, and I took it as a challenge because the thing that happened to me was so crazy, so incredible that I wanted to share that in the world and in a book. And then I I sure enjoy doing it. So I wrote a couple of other books because yeah, I it, I do not try intend or believe that it's possible for me to make a living writing books. I don't look it as that way. I do it because I really enjoy the process of writing a book. It's like creating a baby, you know. It's like it's your baby that is growing and getting mature, and it follows certain stages, and you really get emotionally. In my case, that was a non-fiction telling my story that was very sad and very, I don't know. It was not a fairy tale for sure, but it was very emotional in it. There were all kind of emotions involved, and yeah, so you become like very, you perceive the book as your baby, your creation, and I really enjoyed that, and that is why I ended up writing a couple of other books, and I don't discard writing more. I really enjoyed doing it, and yeah, that's it. And I never thought before prison that I would do it. I actually said no, I would never do that. I am a procrastinator, but yeah, it was done, published, and there is this. It's called Login to Hell, the way, by the way, the name of the first book. And yeah, people that are in the field say, that's a very cool name, Login to Hell. Yeah.
Kali, you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a little bit glitching here. I was pressing on the mic, but nothing was happening. I'm actually, so I can see that anyone can purchase them on from Kindle, right? Like it's
Yeah,
the
yeah, actually, it's available on Kindle as ebook, but it's I mean for for my Yeah, I took the decision of don't giving all the rights to Amazon for having the exclusivity of it. Yeah, for personal reasons and beliefs, no, I am the owner of the right of the book. The book is, yeah, you can get it as a book in Kindle, in paperback, in Amazon. It's also available on major booksellers such as Barnes and Nobles and many other bookstores out there. Yeah, it's not Amazon only that has the exclusivity. I put the price of the electronic version, I think, at the lowest price that the platform was allowing me, and not having selected exclusivity. The fees, I mean the commissions that I get per each book that is being sold is ridiculously low. We're talking about cents or a dollar. I mean, it's very low. But yeah, but the idea was to actually, okay, mission of writing the book complete. I did it. Now I want to make it available to everybody at a very low price. And if somebody doesn't have the money to pay it, I give an electronic copy for free without any problem. I believe that some information should be free, and everybody should have access to certain things, despite of the fact of not having the money or to afford it. And in this case, this is information that can be useful for a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, if you cannot afford buying that, you can contact me. I have given much more copies away for free than the copies I have sold. So yeah, that is the way I. My market, yeah, I would never become a millionaire with that approach by writing books, but no, uh, I enjoy it only. But my life in cybersecurity is not around writing books.
Yeah, I had my fair share. I tried having a book published. Fernand knows about it on Amazon, and for some reason, it wasn't. It didn't get published. I suppose one day, who knows? One day I will find the reason why, but I'm not that interested, to be honest. Maybe I can find other ways to publish it. I was thinking of
Mm,
maybe.
well, I can tell you, my book is available also in NFT format. You can get it as an NFT. I don't know, guys, if you're into NFT, but there's a place called NFT Books that info, and there people can publish their books in NFT format, and you can buy it, and then after reading that, you can sell it. So you are making money on a secondary market. You can have it, and you can lend it for a weekend, for a couple of days, and you pay a fraction, I mean, cents. Um, and you can have it to read it for certain amount of money. They are lending you the book. It's a platform that is tokenized. That's how they do it. Yeah, so I don't. It's very. I'm very curious about what happened, regarding that book that will be published. Um, I mean, it's
I
very.
guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know because now you just mentioned the exactly what I was looking for. Alberto, please tell us, how do you publish a book as an NFT? To have a
Okay.
format as a book, to scroll maybe through it, I suppose, because otherwise it's not a book, it's a collection, right?
No, it is well, actually, what you are buying a token that allows you to get the book. Basically, if in your wallet you have the token, a token that is associated, yeah, to a collection of any. If there were minted initially 250 or 100 copies of the book available in that platform, that collection. Okay, and if you have the NFT, that this token associated to any of them, you download the book, and you can open it and read it. If in your wallet you have the associated token, that means that you have bought it. Yeah, that's the way basically it works. It's like you have to buy the ticket or to prove that you pay for it, and if in your wallet you have the ticket, which is the NFT, you can open and read it. That's the way it works. It's basically tokenizing the way it is sent from the sold and bought and exchanged and landed. Yeah, it's like that.
Definitely have to look into this because I was wondering how to do it so as to have a format that's readable. But this token idea that you mentioned, so you have a token that you basically use in a marketplace to access the NFT book. And which marketplace would that be, or how do you do it actually?
Well, actually, this platform have their own their own crypto. It's based on um, I'm not if I'm not wrong. It's based on Tezos or maybe Solana. It's I think it is Tezos that the platform that they're using the blockchain. Um, yeah, what was the other question? The structure of the book. Yeah, basically, that is something that they have to improve probably. You have to provide the book in PDF format, and it cannot be the size of it larger than 10 or something like that megabytes, which in my case was a problem with one of the three books that I have because one of them had a lot of content that are images, artwork, and it was like 50 megabytes the size of the book as PDF at the end. So, oh my God, I had to mash compressing everything and to be able to comply with that restriction. And yeah, and I wasn't very happy because of it, because of the quality that was lost in that process was a big. Yeah, that's basically all they want is the PDF of the book and has to be no larger than certain size in megabytes, which is not a lot of space that you can use. So yeah, that's something that is I don't know right now. It was last year published an NFT. I don't know if they evolved and now they have other higher capacity in terms of the size that they allow per book or anything. I don't know what changes have been in the platform from what I'm telling you now, the way it worked when I published it initially.
Trust me, you told us more than enough for me, at least, and I'm sure Fernand as well. So because he's also interested in writing more, and who knows, maybe we were talking about the magazine at some point, Fernand. Not only for my book. So this is a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing, Alberto. And okay, so I have another question, Fernand. Just one question before I let you I let you go on. Sorry for this, but I gotta ask you because I was looking on your articles and I saw that one of them is dedicated to your mom. And I was wondering if you can tell us, was she the most influential person in your life, or who was your
Well,
most
I
influential?
can tell you, yeah, there was a post that, I mean, my story was being developed through all these years. It was not a story that had a beginning and end when I entered into prison. I left prison. No, it was a living story that was being, it was that a reality show happening on Twitter with tweets, with activity in Twitter, publishing. Meanwhile, in parallel, things were happening in real world regarding the process. And one probably in 2022 the process was closed and at the end I have no criminal records. It was a nightmare but for me it was exhausting mentally, physically, economically. I lost everything. Is Yeah, but it made me a much stronger person than I was before and made me experience something that allowed me to see the world from a different perspective and change it in certain way my values and the way I see things, and yeah, it was a very an experience that was think uh, providing me a lot of things that allowed me to see the world in a different way, and yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I think that it was something that I grew a lot. So try to see the positive things of such experience. Initially, when that happened, I was angry, upset. I have all negative feelings towards all the people involved because it was very unjust and unfair the way my case was treated, and it was something that I really was full of anger inside of me towards the system, towards certain people for having it there. I really wanted revenge. I was really, really upset. But you realize that with time, all those feelings are being actually slowly vanishing. And I can tell you right now, in 2024, um, that it's going to be 7 years. There's a song that I created, it's called 7 Years of Pain. um, I look back and I see that moment that now seems so far away. And at this point, I tell you, I have no feelings of hate, of anger. I look back, and it was an experience that was not that terrible as I felt it when it happened. So I was looking at that event from a different perspective, and I realized that actually, when this kind of things happen, in particular, people with my profile, that um, if you are able to actually, when that happens, clearly, quickly look at the situation and try to see it from not that from away. You try to see it from a different perspective. There's normally always an opportunity when it happens something that is negative and is terrible or whatever. At the same time, you are being pushed into a place where you can, if you are able to look at good enough, an opportunity that can actually transform that negative experience into an opportunity that opens you the door to reach and I don't know, eventually get to get to end up in a place that you would never have gone if it wasn't because of such a terrible experience. Yeah, so uh, writing the book, we all go back to the book that this was something that I said I will never write a book at one point when in the intensive care unit of a hospital about to die. I did write the book. I got it published in 2023 in March. A person actually was got to know the book, and he posted on Twitter, "Oh, look at this book! I want to buy it." And that person posted a link to the electronic version, and somebody replied, "You can also buy it in paperback here in blah blah." Okay, and the person bought the book, and then the person tweeted again and said, "Oh, I got the book, and I got it one day before I was expecting it," and tweeted the picture of the book. Well, I thought that was beautiful, and I replied to the tweet thanking the person, and also sent a DM, saying that thank you for the support. And I started talking to that person. Okay, long story short, in October 2023, using a tweet, I proposed to that woman that had bought that book. Yeah, there was a tweet out there on September 26th where her handle is Cybergirl, and I said, "Hey, Cybergirl, would you ever marry me?" And she said, "Right, I mean, imagine a person that is being proposing a woman via Twitter in a tweet. I mean, he really becomes a very vulnerable position when he's being seen by hundreds of millions of people are potentially seeing that. Yeah, so I know would really be. Would really be something that affect very badly my confidence, my self-esteem. But the woman say, "Hi, Alberto, are you drunk? Of course I will." I was like, wow. And then it was like a shock, but then we started talking, and at the end, in October and August 10 of this year, we ended up getting married in Las Vegas, and the woman once posted in her Facebook account that, yeah, this is the book that I bought a year ago, and if I knew that the book would include the author with it, I would have paid much more money than actually what I paid for. I didn't know that the author was included with the price of the book. So basically, to sum up, because of that terrible experience of being in prison, of almost dying, of saying no, I will never write a book, and then having this stubborn decision of no, I will write this book, and I did it, and then somebody in certain parts of the boat bought a copy of it. I got to find the most beautiful, amazing, and wonderful woman in the world that now is my woman, and isn't that amazing and crazy that because of all that tragedy, if that tragedy would never have happened, I would never have written a book, and I would never have had a woman buying a copy of that book uh, and proposing me in a tweet. I was researching, trying to find similar cases of somebody who tweets to a woman, yeah, would you marry me? And no, I didn't find any other. So yeah, I realized that it was a very risky action to do that. The answer could perfectly have been known, and and yeah, you're exposing yourself big time. Twitter should actually feature this as a story of beautiful things can happen in Twitter. Not only you complain about the spaces that lag, that your account has been suspended. Yeah, also a beautiful thing can happen. Not only the platform is a shitty one, but yeah, the platform can also make people fall in love and use it as a way of uh, getting to know the person that is the love of your life.
That's amazing, Alberto. I can't believe. Well, we all have our fair share of romance online, much more than the others. I don't know, maybe not me, not the luckiest one. Fernand, I cut you off at some point, and I'm not sure if we're time constrained in any way. That's why I mentioned that I have one more question. Go ahead, please, if you're here.
I don't know. Can we do a podcast for 5 hours? I mean,
Well, you will have to cut me at 5 hours sharp because people tell me, Alberto, yeah, when you start speaking about this, yeah, I mean, they have to stop me. I mean, because otherwise I mean, the story it has in it, it's like a story from like Pulp Fiction or it's like a story inside another story inside another story, and the things that happen are unbelievable. I mean, uh, when I wrote the book, actually, something interesting that happened to me was that at one point I was describing the experience, and I realized that okay, I had to remove certain things. I was thinking I shouldn't include this because people would believe that this is I'm making up this. What are the odds of this having happened? I mean, this is so insane that people would question that this really happened when actually everything is backed up with evidence, the technical details and yeah, the parts that are explaining from a technical perspective, but are very few and are optional for the reader to go through. The book is written as a story that can be understood and read by anybody. You don't have to be somebody who is into technology or anything. Anybody can read the story of a person who was a big accuser of a crime he never committed, and his yes, his path in order to overcome that. And when he left prison, that person had nothing except a cellular, and with that cellular, he actually made such an impact in a system that the system was before and after. There were huge change because of my case in the legislation of my country. My case appears in the jurisprudence of this country, and they changed many things laws because of my case that got a lot of relevance. Uh, so uh, a convict with a cellular and the desire and determination of make exposing certain things and change a system that was with a lot of flaws. Okay, if you really really want it badly, a person with a cellular only can change the world and can improve the things that are wrong, exposing the things that are wrong with evidence. I always was a person that didn't have online presence. I really dislike or hate or feel uncomfortable having social media account. You Google my name before this happened, and you have no matches. But after it, I was completely doxxed by the police, by everybody. It was a very small country. Everybody knew who I was with me, and yeah. So because of that, unfortunately, I thought at that moment I got a certain notoriety, and my name was not such as just another name, but it was a name of the first hacker in Uruguay sent to prison. Okay, a big deal, a cyber terrorist, blah blah blah. Yeah, so that gave me certain, as I mentioned, notoriety, and that came with some getting a lot of followers in social media, in particular Twitter. So I started saying, okay, I'm not happy, I don't feel comfortable with this, but this is what I have, and it can be very useful if I want to spread message, if, having this reach. So okay, I started using Twitter as a way of spreading information regarding my case, exposing the problems in the process with copies of files of the case, as backup of what I was saying. I was exposing so many problems that well. That was creating so much pressure on the authorities that yeah, the pressure either destroys or make create diamonds. Well, I could create a diamond. I was lucky enough. So yeah, the message is everybody can make a change if they really want it badly and they have the perseverance they have, and they don't listen to the people that are going to tell you don't waste your time. That's impossible. That will never happen. Yeah, no, you have to believe that you can do it. You have to, uh, yeah, ignore those people that tell you it's impossible. Yeah, and the thing is that so many things happen, but the thing is that they think I am the hero of that story. But no, the hero is a person that nobody talks about anywhere, and it's my mother. It's the love of my mother that actually was the hero of this story. It was her love that actually made all this happen. It was her in silence that was supporting me when I was in prison in my darkest moments after prison also, and it was her that actually made this happen. If it wasn't because of her love, her support, and things that you couldn't believe she went through and did for me, yeah, I would probably not be here talking and laughing about this experience. The hero of all this is my mother, and her love was the tool that actually made this story became what it became. Yeah, that is the person that is the one that changed the system, not the one who's speaking, not me. No, it was my mother.
Alberto, there's so much to unpack here, but I want to ask you. I mean, I have a lot of questions. I haven't even opened my notes or even looked at them, so I'm just gonna start with this. Like, what exactly was the offense that you were charged and sentenced with? Or
Okay, well, yeah, yeah, sure. First of all, feel free to ask me anything that you want to ask me. I mean, I have no, I mean, even though I experienced post-traumatic stress disorder and depression as a consequences of the trauma that implies being sent to prison, talking about it makes me feel, I'm very comfortable talking about it. That's why actually I wrote a book and I talk in conferences and wrote articles and come to to places like this. I have been in broadcasts. Yeah, it's not because I like to suffer and going back to things that cause me a lot of pain. It's because I feel comfortable, and for me it's a relief having voice and being able to express me, and tell everything about this case. So I have to clarify that no question you might ask me can trigger in me any negative thing. Now feel free to ask me anything. If I don't answer something, I give you my reason. But yeah, no, don't worry about asking anything. What was the question? Because I had forgotten speaking about this. Oh, what was the offense? It was yeah. Basically, what I did was my girlfriend was part of a health provider, and she once asked me to enter there to set an appointment with a doctor. And she gave me the computer, the address to log in, and she told me, "Do you want the password? Do you need?" And I told her, "No, I'm already in as an administrator." I said, "Wow, this is serious." Uh, I think, yeah, somebody has to do something because this is really really serious. So I contacted the CERT of my country, that is the agency of the government that is in charge of security, and it's the one that you should report all these kind of things, and in order for them to take actions. And I reported that it was a Saturday in October. Wow, it's in Saturday in October. Saturday in October. It's going to be. It was a few days ago. It was the 8th of October of 2014 that this happened. I think, if I'm not wrong. And I reported it was a Saturday. And I got right away the answer from the director of the CERT saying, "Okay, yeah, I confirm it. Yeah, you're right with the report." And I forgot about it. A year after that, again, once bitten, twice shy. I didn't learn my lesson. My girlfriend told me, "Can you enter into the system for a ride?" Okay, I didn't learn my lesson. And I entered into the system, and then happened what I was explaining earlier. I was in front of the system, and I was looking at it like from a distance, and I was like with my eyes not widely open, but suspicious, looking at the screen, and I was thinking, I see something here that is interesting. I think that I can do something that I shouldn't be able to do. Uh, I could see very in front of the system that there was something bad there was something wrong. Uh, yeah, well, basically ended up finding out that I could access to the 200,000 medical records just using a URL and modifying a parameter that is a number, increasing number. It's like the URL of the site, and at the end it has like an interrogation mark and one. You see the record one, you multiply with two, and you see the second record, and that was accessible without even needing a password username. Anybody with the URL could actually do it. And I said, fuck, why do I keep accessing to the website? Jesus Christ, this is like crazy. And I reported it again to the CERT. In January of 2017, um, so apparently somebody hacked that website of the system of the health provider. They interpolated in my apartment, accused me of having hacked that. Uh, yeah, and that was, I mean, I was accused of extortion and fraudulent knowledge of confidential information. Yeah, those were the charges. Uh, because apparently whoever had stolen the data was asking for ransom in order not to release that information. The funny part of all this is that if you look the date of the supposed hacked and you look at the logs with the data that was the traffic of information from the medical provider, the outside traffic, which means the information that was sent from the server to the internet, that we were talking about 150 megabytes, which is more or less like, let's say, 10 MP3 songs in MP3 format. And yeah, so it's pretty crazy to believe that in 150 megabytes you could have stolen 200,000 medical records. I think I have no idea, but I think the order of magnitude of a database with that kind of amount of information, we're talking about terabytes and terabytes of data that should have been transferred in order to store that information for the systems. And so those were details that, yeah, were making this case completely unbelievable. And I don't know actually what had really happened, but my best guess is that the system was never actually even hacked or compromised. There was something more that is unknown, and it's the reason why I was arrested and sent to prison, and then well, then after a long process that was really, really something that was destroying me because it was so long and it takes so much energy. And yeah, I ended up being free of charges. So the story, what really happened is not known but my theory so far is that the system was never hacked with the evidence that I could access to and what is on the record of the case. My conclusion is that there was no hacking. What was describing and the crime that I was accused of never happened. But yeah, justice here is not just it's very unjust, and the people that are in this from the people from the police and the people from the legal system at that point had no clue, no idea about this kind of crimes or anything. They were completely incompetent to deal with these kind of things, and they just saw me as the perfect person to yeah to arrest and accuse of that. Uh, yeah, and the director of research was interviewed by the judge, and the judge asked him, "Did Alberto Hill at any point report any security problem in the system?" And the director of research, the person who had answered it years ago, okay, yeah, confirmed that you're right. With admin, you can access to the system. Said, "No, I don't recall having sent any report regarding that. I look at some files and didn't find anything." When whichever report you get a ticket number for tracking the report, uh, I got those ticket numbers, those mails with that. All he had, I mean, in a criminal case, when the life of a person is being defined, I mean, being sent to prison can mean you are destroying the life of a person, destroying the family, having a person who is going to lose his job, having a person that is going to struggle because of the trauma of being in prison, that after prison that person would never have opportunities like another person in order to enter into certain positions in jobs. Um, that person is going to pay probably despite of the sentence for the rest of his life for what he did, because society will not forget and will treat him in a different way than a person who hadn't had any record of committing any crime. So when you are uh, asked to answer certain questions in a case, you have to be very careful and understand all the consequences of your answers and how your due diligence is. Um, all he had to do was enter into the system and search for if I had there was any report in there with my name about the security of that medical institution. Truly, there was, but he said, I don't recall. Um, that is not. I mean, that is the worst answer. I mean, the answer that should have been a question from the judge. How can you not tell that? Is either the answer is either yes or no. It's not. I don't recall. Tell me yes or no. I mean, you have a system that records that and give tickets associated with each report. There is or there is not either a record of Alberto Hill. I do not recall. Is not an answer that he will give. And having told that to the judge, give element to the judge. Okay, if he doesn't recall, he's the director of the CERT of this country. Uh, I believe he doesn't recall. Probably this guy is lying. He never report anything, and he's guilty of committing the crime. When no, I did report. I had the copies of the mails, the answers, but I only got to know that this person did that a year after being released from prison, having access to my file of my case. That I read that happened, and I was holding. Why? I mean, I could have proven perfectly that he was lying. That I did report. My defense was really um, pathetic, not in terms of my lawyer that was very competent, but it was chaotic because here the system is really chaotic, the justice system, and when it talks to crimes related to technology, yeah, the lack of skills and humans that are competent is so enormous, and the people that are working in these cases are really people that do not have what it takes in terms of knowledge, skills, experience to do it in a competent way. So, uh, yeah, it's very dangerous. What happened to me could happen to anybody. It is crazy. Yeah, but my answer was basically what crime I was accused of, and I ended up talking about this. Yeah, I speak too much. Yeah, this is what, yeah, as you can tell, I am very open to talking about this case without any problem.
I took the liberty of looking up here on using Grok to formulate some questions regarding like the types of offenses that that are involved with cybersecurity, and it counted 17 of them. 17 types of
Wow.
offenses, and there's I don't know if you were familiar with any of them in particular, but
No, 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 no,
they
no.
were you have unauthorized access, damage to computer data or programs, sabotage, unauthorized interception, computer espionage, cyber fraud, ransomware, identity theft, cyber stalking, cyber bullying. I mean, you see a lot of that around here. I mean, a
We're,
lot of people could,
we're talking about crimes that are criminalized
you
in the
got
USA, right?
malware distribution, you got data breaches, app fraud, cyber terrorism, forgery and ordering, misuse of devices, and unlawful acts with software and hardware.
Yeah, that is in the USA, right? That those are the computer crimes. Because in Uruguay, until this year that they are working on that, there were no laws regarding computer crimes. What the justice system was doing was using the traditional criminal code, and by analogy, they were using that in order to prosecute people for this kind of crime. For example, in the case of ransomware, what they were using was the analogy with the typical case of extortion, that is typified as a crime. And yeah, by analogy, each one of the things that you mentioned, if it could be matched with a traditional crime because of certain things in common, well, they was criminalized, but it was not that. It is explicitly said, uh, okay, possession of a piece of code of malware is a crime. Well, that probably doesn't match with any traditional crime, but if you hack the system and you steal or read access information that is classified in certain way, well, that is a crime that, in the traditional criminal code of Uruguay, it is typified, and was when it was created, it was intended for documentation in paper that was classified and was stolen physically. But yeah, no, They could make an analogy to enter into a system and steal confidential information for the system hacking it. So that is the way it was here until this year, that they're going to change that, and they're actually creating laws that reference specifically to computer crimes, the way you were saying, giving the names, specific technical names of each action and the crime that it is, each one of them. And it's something interesting that you mentioned position of malware, because all the people that are writing these laws, yeah, they know nothing about computers. The people that write the laws know nothing about the laws they're talking about, and it's very funny and sad at the same time. This kind of cases that has criminalized in the USA the possession of pieces of malware is something that is terrible in terms of you are actually uh, potentially exposing those researchers that need to possess that pieces of code in order to understand how it works, in order to create solutions to restore or protect systems from getting infected with those pieces of malware, of ransomware. So imagine if the possession of that makes you a criminal, okay, those who are investigating, okay, can be eventually potentially being accused of being criminals just because of having that for research purposes, and actually to do central things that are protecting system, not committing crimes. So yeah, we are very exposed to the incompetence and the stupidity of law enforcement when it comes to these kind of things. Uh, and it's something that should be studied, and yeah, it's something that, yeah, should it has a huge impact in the way the computer crimes can be reduced or not. If we are doing these kind of things, we are discouraging as researchers to work on particular fields because they don't want to get into trouble because of being potentially accused of committing a crime for doing their work. Yeah,
You know what, Alberto? Guess what? I asked Grok which was the most notable cybersecurity crime in Uruguay. Guess what it
let
is?
me take a wild guess. Let me take a wild guess. Somebody who goes by the name of Alberto Daniel Hill, a computer engineer who was the first hacker in Uruguay, who got notoriety for being the first hacker in Uruguay that
Listen,
was sent to prison.
listen to
You
this.
can read that.
The 2017 medical provider hack was the most notable. The most. It's in.
Did they elaborate a little bit more on that? If you ask him who is Alberto Daniel Hill, does he give you a little bit more extensive output?
It doesn't say. Look, it amazes me because I look at all this and I wonder, like, why is there's just no more talks of cybersecurity breaches when this is like it binds everything together, like the you know any little bit of leakage of invaluable information can like dictate the outcomes of so many things. And people, I don't think the value of intelligence of it's really put into the spectrum of like, hey, there's got to be more people involved in cybersecurity to counterattack all this. People that have been in the trenches. I mean, people who are passionate about data and how valuable information is. Like, it's invaluable. I mean, you you see this go on, and you would think like as years goes by, like technology will be stronger, but the more ways that people you think there's more ways to combat cyber attacks than there is, like, do you think there's more ways for a hacker to attack than to counterattack?
Yes, it's a very interesting question in terms of how the ecosystem works in terms of hacking, the hacking arena. Okay, um,
Like, how would you
the
ratio it?
okay, basically, the good guys are losing big time against the bad guys. Why is that? Because there's it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, the one that is involved in cybercrime. You have criminal groups that are paying. I mean, if you're as somebody who knows about the hacking, such as me, and it happened to me, you are going to be approached by criminals, and they're going to try to temptate you with a lot of money in order for you to work for them. That happened to me actually in prison. Somebody visited me and he wanted me to help him to hack a bank and steal money from there. Yeah, it happens it's very common. And if you approach a person who is young, it's like blinded by the money that's offered for being part of criminal groups and doing committing crimes. It's some people get that temptation and they go and they use. They are very skilled and very smart, and they are given the resources in terms of technology and other things that they need in order to attack and create sophisticated ways and of hacking systems in the world that cannot be detected, that are successful. These criminal groups works as has a business. They have a business model. They operate as a company. Like each hacking is approached from a methodology of project management. So it's like an industry that is perfectly working as one with business model, a methodology of working that has people in different fields doing different things, different profiles of people working in those industries, and the revenues that are billions are making that those people are getting a lot of money. Those who are defending those systems, they can right now. Just looking at the news, every day you see news regarding X company X has been hacked. They stole X amount of money from this institution. This institution was victim of ransomware. This blah blah blah, and it's increasing and increasing and increasing, and it's going to get much worse. The good guys actually the lack of that yeah they that law enforcement and companies are not prepared to cope with this amount of power that the attackers and the criminals have to stop them. Uh, and basically, I think that is something that I you can quote me on this. I think that cybercrime is the reason. I mean, makes hacking evolve and makes the technology get better and better in terms of security. If there weren't criminals in the cyber world, hacking would be standing still in the time. There would be no evolution. But this constant creation of new attacks, new ways of hacking systems that drives I mean the need of be constantly be finding ways of protective system to the new kinds of attacks. That is why an antivirus company is constantly updating the database because okay, at point A in time, the antivirus can detect X amount of viruses out there and variations. But with time, there are being created new viruses that do not match with the signature or patterns of the viruses that have been initially identified. They have evolved and they have to update the database of signatures of the viruses in order to detect the new ones. And it's a process that is endless. It's a contact. It's a constant cycle of okay, new more sophisticated attacks and new and more sophisticated solutions to protect systems or repair systems that have been victims of those attacks. It's a continuous cycle of evolution, and if it wasn't because of cybercrime, the 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 cybersecurity world would be really a boring space that would be somebody on a desk with his legs over on the table smoking a cigarette because they wouldn't have anything to do if it wasn't because of cyber criminals. It's big thanks to them that when it comes to cybersecurity, the evolution and the speed that things are happening is amazing. How it's everything is like in fast forward. It's like improving. Always you are finding new cases of new things being hacked using different ways, different tools, different methodologies, and yeah, okay, they have to react quickly when it comes to good guys protecting the system to stop them from happening. So they have to learn how this works. But okay, there's a point there. How do you protect yourself from the bad guys? Well, I think that you have to see the attack from the side of the hacker. You have what's called white hat hackers that are the good guys who protect the systems, and you have what's called black hat hackers that are criminals, and in the middle there's a line that is great that is called grey hat hackers that are not either good or bad, but sometimes they do certain things that might be not too ethical, not to say not too criminal, and sometimes they are there in the border, not being no good or bad. I'm colorblind, so I don't know what color is my hat. And I was just kidding. I would never harm any system or cause any kind of problem with a computer system. But okay, in order to stop the criminal, you have to think like the criminal, and to think like the criminal, you have to
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
eventually cross that line and pass from the white to the through the gray and enter into the dark in order to see the things from the perspective of the attacker in order to protect yourself. But by doing that, because of the thing that I mentioned, the stupidity of those to create laws, you are committing a crime. Uh, and yeah, that is why having a piece of malware for research purposes is a must in order to understand how it works and how to stop those pieces of code affecting and damaging system. You have to have them. Otherwise, how do you do to protect yourself? If you want to uh, understand how the I don't know certain things, you have to have that thing in your hands, and you cannot criminalize the possession of something that can be very malicious, but it is required in order to create solutions. It's like, okay, in order to cure this disease, this virus, where the possession of the virus is a crime. No, the pharmaceuticals of the industry that is creating medications to treat certain things need to have access to the disease in order to create the medicine that protects you from that or cure you for produces a cure to that disease. You can criminalize having a possession of the disease, either being a virus or whatever that it is that they need in order to create the way of curing the people from that. So I don't remember what your question was, but I ended up talking about, oh yeah, the bad guys are winning big time. The battle right now is going to get much worse than it is. We have only seen the tip of the iceberg. Things are going to get much crueler. You are going to see much more hacking, much more sophisticated. This is going to be very, very bad. We are going to see things that are going to be mind blowing, things that we have never seen before. But on the long term, I see that things are going to change. And the good guys in a long term, if I had to bet, I would put my money on the good guys in a mid long term are going to actually start being a step in front of the bad guys. Yeah, that's how I see it.
We definitely need more white hat hackers in this space because you see it in the Web 2 space as well in the Web 3 space. Here on the top of the nest, I posted a post-mortem incident report by one of the most influential figures in the Loopring community, which is the one where I got onboarded in the Web3 space to begin with. And This is essentially a crime scene incident in the Web3 space that is being ongoing, and a lot of people are upset. I'm bringing it to light as well as many others because, out of 44, uh, more than 40,000 mobile wallets in the Loop Rings network in the blockchain system, about 56 or 58 of them got hacked and all the assets were stolen. And since then, Loopring has, taken the, the the steps to bring it to authorities and do is to provide as much context and as much information. They could trace the wallet of the hacker, but they can't trace like his location or anything like that. But they can, like, you can, if you read this article, it goes deep in full detail, and basically, like, look, Loopring's taking accountability on what happened, and taking measures in doing whatever they can to, bring back these assets back. But they can't really, reimburse the users. What they can do is, like, if they manage to get the perpetrator, they would, if they can find those assets, they will do everything to bring them. But for right now, like, this is just an ongoing case.
Yeah, but okay, blockchain forensics has evolved big time in the last years. Initially, Bitcoin was people thought there was this myth that was okay. What's in the blockchain is impossible to trace. If you operate there, nobody can identify you. But then it was proven wrong. I mean, yeah, if you have the knowledge skills, you can trace the root of the cryptocurrencies in the blockchain in order to know from where to where they were transferred, in order to find patterns, in order to know, for example, when it comes to Web3, okay, let's see the buyers, what people put certain amount of cryptos in buying a certain collection of certain NFTs. And you can realize, for example, that one collection of 10,000 pieces of something was sold out, and they realized that the source of the cryptos that were buying that collection were coming from three different wallets. That actually then we realized that one of them was also a wallet that these was originally used for certain thing, and you identify that actually that sold out wasn't a sold out, was actually that the collection was bought by people that were part of the team of that project. So basically, what they did, they just created this hype, and they were themselves that bought that. Yeah, all that can be traced and analyzed, and the conclusions can be very interesting. But yeah, so far as I know, Monero is the only crypto that by design provides that feature of anonymity that that gives a plus, and is the only one that when it comes to tracing the the way the cryptos are traveling and being transferred from one wallet to another in the space, it cannot be done. But okay, let's say that they can trace physically they can reach the people that have stolen cryptos from certain place, and they can reach them. Uh, how do you get the cryptos back? And okay, you have to torture them because they have the private key of a wallet that is holding that. But what do you say? Give me the private key. It's like maybe this is something that it's not pretty likely, but let's say you have a photographic memory, you can memorize that, and the private key or the recovery words are in your brain. So what are they going to do? They can be in a piece of paper or in a book in a certain codification. I mean, the only way for them to recover the assets is that the person provides supplies the private key or the recovery boards for the wallet, and that is something that if I had done it, well, first of all, I would never have done it. I'm not a criminal, but whoever have done it would pretty likely not say anything and serve prison time for being accused for that crime, and then getting out and then showing all those millions of dollars that he got from stealing from the wallet or any company. Yeah, how do you recover the funds? Well, maybe I will speak in English now because yeah, one of the ways of breaking passwords is brute force, fuerza bruta. But basically means fuerza bruta is like brute force sounds very very aggressive, very like very painful. Well, yeah, maybe only with uh, for both brute force, they can get back the asset using that with the perpetrator of the crime. Yeah, yeah, it's very complicated, I think, and blockchain forensic is something that is very new and requires a lot of knowledge and skills, despite of the fact of being out there tools that can. Automatic, as there are systems that can do a lot of work with programs, and the human interaction that is at the end that interprets the results of any kind of output of a computer system analyzing that data is the one who actually concludes that validates or not the what an automatic system can create, analyzing all the information in the blockchain. But so far, I mean, once you lost, I mean, if you are Showdow and they stole your MetaMask, the crypto from your MetaMask station in Chrome, okay, you can tell that person that, okay, you have lost and there's no way. I mean, you can go to the police and they will not give up, they would not give you any. They would look at you and they would say, they would think to themselves, why did this person waste their time coming here? Where uh, we are not going to solve this. We are not going to waste our time with this. So only in cases where we are talking about exchanges or money laundering involving $1 billion and something like that, is that actually the authorities have used and just go and they arrest the people that are behind that. The tools that they have, there is the technology out there in order to go after those criminals that are in the order of magnitude of billions of dollars, and they get them. None of them can escape. The authorities, the agencies in the world, they have the tools and the skills, and they have actually things that are probably much more illegal to use in the way they operate than the crime itself that they are prosecuting. I don't know, guys, if you know the Silk Road problem, that the guy that was running the Silk Road on the dark web ended up being sent to prison, serving 2 life sentences without parole. That's 30 years, something like that. The guy only that what he did was create an eBay where he was connecting buyers with sellers of products. Yeah, mostly there were illegal products such as drugs and other things. There was certain rules that, for example, child pornography was absolutely prohibited, and all he did was like eBay. He was an escrow that the people would go and see what's been offered there by other people and buy that. And once they received the merchandise, they would get the seller would get their money received, and there was a mechanism of qualifying your transaction, your purchase, and you okay. If you had a good experience, you would give 5 stars to certain seller, and okay, that creates basically a way of trusting or deciding. Okay, I am going to buy this from this underground place that okay I will not put my credit card here to buy drugs. No, I pay with crypto. And do I trust these are criminals? I'm going to pay and I will never see my cryptos again. But you know what? The system of actually trust and qualifying the transactions is very, very effective. And I can tell you that don't, yeah, you can quote me this no problem. I have made many transactions. I'm not going to enter into the details of what did I bought in the dark web. But I have researching and being active in the dark web for some time, and I can tell you, I have never been scammed or been stolen or having had any product buying anything from the dark web. On the other hand, buying from Amazon or for any other online stores that are on the open web, I have had problems. I have been big. I have had some issues, but in the dark web. I nobody scammed me, nobody stole from me. Every transaction that I had was completely flawless and perfect. Yeah, the criminals actually, the cyber criminals can have codes, and yeah, and they don't, they they're not that bad after all. They have certain codes, which is funny.
Fernand, if you're speaking, we couldn't hear you.
No, I just wondering if you wanted to jump in or anything, because I'm gonna. You don't got any questions?
Yeah, I actually do have many other questions, but I I think a funny one would be, what advice would you give yourself uh, for to your younger self, maybe before all this happening? If you could predict, or what advice would you give to yourself, Alberto?
Well, my advice would be doing the right is right, even though nobody is doing that, and wrong is wrong, even though everybody is doing that. When it comes to hacking or security, or basically you have ethical hacking, which means you are everything you do before any technical skill or no ethics is the baseline. Before entering, you have to clearly uh, have understanding ethics and okay, that's the starting point. Uh, I I I found a problem in a system and I reported, and I actually my intention I was not part in the database of the 200,000 exposed crime health records, but I mean I saw a problem and I could either do nothing, I could have not reported and actually using that as a way of making money, or could have reported that in order to get solved. Those were the three alternatives I had when I found the flaw in the system. Um, what did I do? Well, ethically for me, there was no questions. I didn't have to think much to for me that the only thing that I option that I had was to report it at that point. Otherwise, if that information in a future was that problem was being found by criminals, well, those people in those records would be having their medical information leaked and out there. No, I don't want that. And if I have committed a crime, well, that's not me. I'm not a criminal. I mean, the way I was raised and everything, no matter how much money I can be offered or I get from using that as in a crime to profit, I don't care. The money for me is not a justification to commit a crime or not. I mean, I will always follow the the path of yeah, not hurting other people. Like, I mean, I have my own philosophy of living that is not the laws that are stupid created by stupid people, but I think that I act in a way that is basically based on the concept of do not do to others what you wouldn't like that others do to you. Yeah, just do the right thing. Again, right is right even though nobody's doing it, and wrong is wrong even though everybody do that. If you are a young guy and you find yourself in the position I was, okay, mm, I would tell you, uh, even if you knew, or if I was going back to that moment in life, and I knew that what was going to be the outcome of all that, what would I have done? I would have done the same, because it is the right thing to do, despite of knowing that that would result with my detention, my prison time. That's me. It's the right thing to do. I wouldn't have to think much about what I would do if I would have gone back in time, and I would have the opportunity to uh, decide again what I would do if finding that problem. Uh, yeah, I mean, to the young people, I would say, okay, don't be if you have the skills, if you have the knowledge, if you are good in this field, uh, yeah, you will be tempted to cross the line, and go to the side of the bad guys, because yeah, money can blind people, but you don't need to do that. If you are good enough, you are going to get a good job, and you are going to get well paid. Okay, you will probably get a fraction of what bad guys get, but there's no soft pillow as a clear conscience, and I prefer to sleep well than sleep over a mattress full of money. Yeah, you can sleep better with a clean conscience. So yeah, young people, do the right thing. It's not worse. Actually, and if you're being arrested, you can have a very traumatic experience that it's not worth it. Yeah, there's no need to commit a crime, and it's tempting in terms of money. And if you're skilled, you're getting a lot of money, but yeah, and there's no need to that. They do the right thing, and yeah, sometimes you end up paying a big price for something that you did with the best intentions in the world, but it's still do the right thing. That's the only way that I can think I would act in these cases. But yeah, it's interesting and complicated, but also opens the door to a discussion regarding, okay, a person who is a doctor, and a patient dies because of he making a mistake during a medical procedure. Okay, that person probably is, the hospital is back is protected by 20,000 lawyers. The doctor has an insurance that covers any kind of damage he might eventually do to any patient. So those people that can have potentially kill people because of a mistake they made, or yeah, something that they do that might kill a person, have much more warranties and are safer in terms of in possibilities of being well defended, and avoid being uh, accused of serving big sentences for having somebody dying because of their actions. And cybersecurity professionals actually were naked, exposed, and anybody can eventually be accused of committing a crime, even though that person might eventually have been doing things in order to prevent crimes. So that makes sense, and I am working on ways of making this scenario change, and actually protecting the good guys in order to have more good guys, and those good guys having um, the warranty, and the being knowing that nothing will happen to them, and if they are doing the right thing. Yeah, so good guys, please, young guys entering cybersecurity, go and put yourself the hack the white hat before hacking, and yeah, enjoy the journey. You have to have curiosity. You have to cope with frustration. You have to enjoy it, and it's beautiful. But nobody teaches you in university what to do if the police arrest you, and like a case like mine. Nobody prepares you. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't see it coming. It was crazy for me. It was something that was part of a movie when the Interpol raided my apartment. Uh, and what do you do in those cases? Yeah, well, unfortunately, no, there are no classes in college or university that, okay, this is the class of what to do in case the Interpol knocks at your door and they handcuff you and they arrest you. How do you know? We're not prepared for those kind of things, so that's another thing that should be done. When you are entering into the field, you think it's all about, want to become a hacker because it's cool. Well, no, no. You are if you are becoming a hacker, your life can change with time in a negative way. You are going to face a lot of things that are going to be dangerous, not physically, but in a digital way. Yeah, you can have a very hard time. It's not about being cool. It's about actually believing in what you do and ethically have clear, have no ethical dilemmas and have a clean conscience about what you're doing. So there's no need actually for anybody to go and work for the bad guys, except yeah, the desire of quickly uh, becoming rich and having access to luxuries and those things that we cannot bring to us when we die. Yeah, that's it.
So I gotta ask you, Alberto, because my name it's my profile name. Have you ever used Kali as a
Well,
system?
yeah, actually, before Kali, there was this software distribution that was called Backtrack, that is basically, yeah, and then Kali Linux 1.0 was the operating system where I learned, where I took my first course of ethical hacking. I was using Kali Linux, yeah. Still is with my tool of preference when it comes to using the distributions that have sets of the programs and other things to conduct security research and hacking and creating things that can be used for hacking purposes. I don't know, any kind of thing from in the process of hacking. You have all the best tools out there, all together to perform all kind of security test or yeah, it's a distribution of Linux that is chirurgically adapted for doing what a cybersecurity professional would need to do to work. Yeah.
I'm so blissfully ignorant in this field that I almost feel complimented now, Alberto.
Well, actually, I am already taken, but otherwise I would invite you. I mean, it's something
Oh
that
no,
is
no,
very,
no,
it
no!
is
I
very.
didn't mean it that
No,
way.
no,
I it's
no, no. I can tell you, no, no. It was a joke, by the way. But no, the thing is that, yeah, we in the for security, we are all nerds that, yeah, we lack of communication skills and all that. But yes, if we see something like Kali, yeah, what comes to mind was like, oh my God, I'm in love with Kali. How somebody be named Kali? Yeah, it's something that because of us being nerd, we can fall in love with somebody with a name like that just because of the name. It's yeah, it's something that normal people would never cross their minds. Cali, why do you like Cali? The name? Are you from California? Are you from Cali in Mexico, in Colombia? No, no.
definitely not. I'm my inspiration is from the Indian goddess Kali, but I also learned about the penetration system. It is the term, I suppose, which is very amusing, especially as I said, since I'm blissfully ignorant. So yeah, no relation, no relation. As much as I want to say about myself that I'm quite nerdy in these regards. Well, I did learn about it, but later than I chose the name for my profile, so I can't claim that. I'm honest here. But Alberto, you mentioned so your birthday. Talking about events here, your birthday is going to be in 2 days, and in 2 weeks you're getting married. Oh my goodness, how are you feeling about this?
No, 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 no. Backtrack, go back. I got married on August the 10th during DEFCON in Las Vegas. I'm already with the.
Oh,
I
sorry about
Yeah.
that. I
No, no,
must
it's
have
okay.
missed it.
No, no, it's okay. Actually, it was streamed via YouTube, and somebody here in Space was using the feature of video to have host a space and stream live the ceremony. Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know, guys, if you know, but Fernando, if you want, can you ask Grok what 1367 means in the language of hacking? If you can do that, let me know what Grok tells you about the number 1367, and its meaning.
You said 1337.
Yeah,
One
what
three
does
seven.
it? Yeah, what does it mean? Is the slang of in the world of hacking? What's the meaning of that number?
Well, I think it's a salute, right? It's more.
Well, actually, in the codification, basically, the one stands for L, the three are two E's, and the seven is a T, which means lead, which basically stands for elite. Somebody who is referred to that number is somebody who is considered part of the elite of hacking. The person who broadcasted in a space the video of my marriage told me, Alberto, do you know what time the ceremony started in my local time? I said, I have no fucking idea. Sorry, excuse me, friend. He said at 1:13 or 30:37, 13 hours 37 minutes, and he showed me the screenshot. The ceremony started at 1337, 1337, which in the slang of hacking means that lead, and it was in DEFCON Las Vegas, which is the largest event of hacking in the world. So it was the perfect hacking ceremony of marriage. Yeah. It was very. I don't believe in accidents. So imagine all of the beautiful things that happened because of a situation that was initially something that nobody would have ever choose to live. Yeah, but with time, I remember years ago when I was so angry, upset, pissed off at the system, the police, and everybody. And now with time, I don't care about them. I'm so happy with my life. I am a person who lost a lot of money in cryptos that were stolen by the police. I mean, I don't want to enter into that, but the fact is that economically, I was destroyed and I was in a very good position. But yeah, money. I feel great, and everybody should get from this the the point that okay, you can be in front of an obstacle in your life that can be very challenging, and you can think that okay, this is the end. This is happening to me. I cannot survive. No, you can overcome any obstacle in your life. Human beings have the potential to do things that are completely unbelievable in extreme conditions. So you don't have to, I'm not Superman. I don't have superpowers, but I could overcome a situation that was really, really complicated, traumatic, and yeah, dangerous. Well, everybody can do it. I'm not any special, any different from anybody. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to have the mindset in order to live day by day and keep moving, and when the problem is ended, move on with your life quickly. Accept the fact that you cannot change what happened. There's no there's nothing that can give you if you keep living in the past and thinking about what happened. Just learn from the experience and quickly see where's your path in the future, and the past will not be the past that you were transiting before the event, because you are going to be put in another position that was not the same that you were. You have to find another path in order to keep continuing. As I said, social media for me was something that I never used it before this. My privacy was extremely, I was very careful with anything that was on the internet out there, and nothing could be found under my name. And this that changes, and there was nothing I could do about that. But because of that, I used that reach in order to deliver messages to the world and have a reach that was very important of people having access to the content I was publishing, which actually at the end created the pressure for a country to make changes in a system that had flaws. So yeah, look at that, and I ended up with an amazing woman thanks to having experience in that. So yeah, shit happens, and you can have a very bad moment in your life, but it's magical how at the end the universe can reward you with reaching a place that you never thought you have reached in your life. So yeah, just don't overthink about the shit that might have happened to you, that terrible problem or experience that you have suffered. Just look around and try to identify the opportunities that actually that event open for you. Don't live in the past, be positive and try to see things from the perspective that, okay, don't overthink about the bad, or try to focus on each thing that can lead to something positive and something beautiful. It's pretty likely to happen to you with that approach.
So, can you tell us more about your future plans or projects? Any more books or any other projects of any kind?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I mean, because of suffering post-traumatic stress disorder, the depression, because of the event, the trauma, I wasn't able to work for a long time, and I'm still struggling into finding a position because, yeah, getting involved into work that requires uh, concentration, requires, yeah, are very demanding, and I'm struggling with that. So I'm starting doing things that are not very ambitious, but are helping me to getting back into the track of cybersecurity. And basically, the project that I'm going to start very soon, I hope, is providing one-on-one classes regarding cybersecurity to people that would learn from me, from the basis of cybersecurity to the level that they would like to reach. Personal classes, live via Zoom, where they can ask me anything, and I will be one-on-one teaching people about hacking. And then with that, also, that's okay. This is something that is breaking news. Is something that I haven't mentioned to anybody. Is that, yeah, I will be started. I have hosted 1,700 spaces ever since the spaces began, according to spacesdashboard.com. Yeah, I was and I am an addicted to the spaces, but yeah, right now I was approached by a company, and a future not very long, in not very the long time, I will be hosting spaces talking about different solutions and topics related to cybersecurity in spaces that are going to be sponsored by companies, cybersecurity companies. So, yeah, if everything goes as planned, I will actually be getting paid for actually doing something that have been done 1,600 times for free in my life. Yeah, so that is another project, creating spaces and then using the content from the spaces to edit that and deliver us in podcast format. and yeah, and the sponsorship of companies that are into the field of cybersecurity are going to be paying for having their brand, service, or product being used as used to sell them, and yeah, for people to get to know those products and to buy them. Yeah, so that is something that's going to. Those are the most things that are that are my work in very short term. That is what I am approaching. I'm trying to think about. You mentioned a book, and I am really tempted of writing a book now that is a love story that is basically expanding my prior book with the experience of prison, where in the first book, Login to Hell, at the beginning, I said that you are not going to read a fairy tale. When I wrote that book, I was in a very negative mood. I was very affected, and I said the word sad is the word that is most used in this book, and it's mentioned, I think, 26 times. You will read the word sad in this book. When people were describing with one adjective the book, the word sad was the adjective that was the most used by people to describe with one adjective what was the book about. Uh, I would like to write a story that involves love, that involves including the role of my mother in all this, and how uh, 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 delivering a message of positivity in what happened to me, inspiring other people that might be struggling in other problems in their life, and giving them hope, and actually helping them to try to see that positive opportunity in the middle of the storm. So yeah, I'm not discarding writing a book that could be a love story that tells how writing a book ended up with a person buying the book and the author coming with the book.
I would definitely read that book. I'm telling you,
Well, it
because
would be a beautiful love
who wouldn't
story.
want to read it?
Yeah, and you know, at the end, isn't it ironic that I wrote in at the beginning of the first book, this is not going to be a fairy tale. The word "sad" is being used 24 times, so this is a story that is, it's not going to be something that is going to be like a Disney's production. No, um, but at the end, at the end, what happened is this book that I mentioned, I consider writing that it will be like a fairy tale. So, but life is uh, so interesting. And you say, as I said in this intensive care unit, I will never write a book. I'm a procrastinator. Get that idea out of your mind, Alberto. And then I wrote a book, and in the book I said, "This is not a fairy tale. This is a very sad story." And, and at the end, I will end up writing a book that would be like a fairy tale. Yeah,
Alberto.
never underestimate what your bad luck have saved you from. Like, yeah, go ahead, Fernando. Sorry.
No, I want to. It's all about your experiences. I noticed like you write better or you write more proficiently when you touch more grass, when you experience things. It's like thinking about what you're gonna write about. Like you'll have more things to write about than to think about when you experience things. It's just you just it just works that way. I noticed
Yeah.
instead of just trying to think about something to write about, let me experience something and then I'll write about it, and it just less effort.
Absolutely. I am 100% agree with you on that. And actually, um, yeah, writing non-fiction, writing stories that are real. I mean, that happened with me. One of the people that bought my book was that I happened to meet in person in DEFCON this year was one of the first people that actually bought a copy of my book and published a picture. Like his name is Nick, and he said, "You know what? I read your book, and I really love it because reading the book, it was like speaking with you. you telling the story with the way you are. It was like I was reading the book, and it was like I was listening to you talking, because yeah, it expresses exactly the way you would have told the story with your words, and that is it. I'm not a professional writer, so the book is, even though I hired an editor for the final process of it, in order to make sure that the quality of it and certain things were done, in order to be sure that the consistency of the story was okay in terms of the timeline, that there were no things that were uh, hanging in there without hanging there, without any link to anything, to make sure of the quality of the book. Yeah, but the core of it was written by a person who is not a writer, but that thing that actually could make the book less attractive in terms of the way it is written, the words and all that, that those flaws, because of not being a professional writer, are also the beauty of it, because it makes you feel that, okay, this is not being written by a professional person. This is being written by somebody who really lived this experience. So yeah, not being a professional, actually, for me, it's a plus in that book, because you are going to read a book that was, oh, you will say this is not a professional writer, but yeah, that is also a positive thing, because you are going to read a book that was actually written by the person who experienced that thing, and he's putting into words his experience with the using the adjective and describing each situation, the way he lived it and the way he remembered it. So yeah, it's a plus.
Alberto, let me introduce and welcome my new guest speaker here. We got El Gato. El Gato, ¿cómo estás, papá?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Who is this person? Security guards, please
I don't know.
remove this person.
I don't know.
Security guards,
I don't know
guard
who is El
security.
Gato. I don't know who is El Gato. I don't know,
El
Alberto, who is El
Gato,
fucking Gato.
how are you? How are you, el gato, mi amigo de Chile? Está jugando un brócoli. ¿Cómo estamos hoy, mi amigo chileno?
Ya tú sabes, Albertito, aquí fumando, ya tú sabes.
Ya lo
Fernand,
sé, tenemos que seguir el espacio hasta las 7:30 de la mañana. Oh, no me digas, tienes 10% de batería. No me digas ese verso para irte a dormir
yeah,
antes.
I have 40% battery, but Fernand, I know Alberto for many years. Alberto is my friend. I always love to hear his story. I know him from like 4 years now, Alberto. So we have the record in Twitter Spaces with
Mm,
Alberto to
wow.
host more than 1,000 spaces.
Yeah, I mean, we lost count, and the thing is that the number is so big that it doesn't enter into the system of Twitter. Yeah, we over yeah, we cause a denial of service or buffer overflow because of the quantity. Yeah, no, El Gato, El Bar del Gato is a place that is unique, is VIP, and the ones who are there are the best of the best, including the one who is serving there the drinks, that is Mr. El Gato, yeah, who is always making us laugh and making us have fun and learn also about NFTs and making friends and enjoying this journey and teaching people and helping people, and well, drama always happens, so that is part of the equation. So it's like, why pay for cable TV when you can go to El Bar del Gato, and you can have a beautiful soap opera, and almost for free. You only have to pay for the internet taxes, and you have entertainment for free in El Bar del Gato. Uh, and canilla libre
I remember,
de cerveza algunos momentos, sí.
I remember, Cali. Fernand, how are you doing? Sorry, Cali, how are you doing? Have a great night.
Welcome. Thank you for coming up.
GM, GM. I remember the question that Cali made, like Alberto is going to marry, but I was witness of Alberto marrying a friend of ours called Juliana. in a
They
live
got tan ta ta
space.
ta tan ta 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 tan ta 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 tan ta ta tan tan tan. No, you won't believe this. Juliana appeared the other day in a
Remember
space.
that?
She was very happy. No, and she actually lost her previous account. She was very sad. Blah, blah. The thing is that the portion where uh, we said yes, I accept. Is an NFT that is in my OpenSea account listed. It's a video that I was watching the other day. It was so hilarious. Oh my God, that was so crazy. So it was so crazy. No, that was amazing and beautiful. Those moments? I mean, it's been like this journey here in the spaces and NFTs and getting to know people, interacting with so many people, so different from different places. It has been so amazing. Yeah, there were things that were. Yeah, problems happen. I mean, we're a group of people that are differences. People, yeah, everything can happen. But at the end, for me, the result is positive, and I'm very happy that I am found a part of the platform, and I got to meet certain people like you. That yeah, it's been years, and you're still here, and yeah, you are a person who has run project, and your knowledge is very valuable, and you have no problem sharing that. You have experienced problems, but you are still here. So I really think that okay, the people that were initially here, 90 large percent are all gone. That are those who were here just for the money and they wanted to become rich overnight. Those who are still here are those who actually believe in the technology and are here not for the money, but because of being fascinated and believing actually in NFTs and Web3, and in particular about decentralized systems that take out the control of companies like this one and give the control back to the users, to the people, using the concept of decentralization. In that, I firmly believe and support, and I think it's the future, and it will be revolutionary when that actually happens. Yeah, so I am here with you, Gato. ¿Me das una cervecita, por favor, Gato? ¿Me sirves aquí en el bar de
Ok,
Gato?
ahí te la
Ah,
mando, ahí te la mando. Ahí
ah,
te la mando, ahí
gracias,
te la mando.
gracias. Destapada la corona ya con la lima. Gracias, Gatito, gracias. Ah, hasta hablo con acento chileno. Oh, le, Chile.
Al gato yo lo conozco de hace tiempito ya, hemos colaborado, él ha sido un invitado aquí en mi podcast y una persona que yo admiro y un amigo por decir, para sumarlo todo. Pero sí, Alberto, ¿cómo tú haces para relajarte cuando tú no estás defendiendo las comunidades, when you're not engaging with the community and sharing your word and just being vocal about cybersecurity?
Okay, that's a very good question.
How do
Uh,
you decompress? What do you
okay, first of all, I will be honest with you. There's nothing like a pill of Xanax or Clonopin or Clonazepam. I will not deny if I have to slow down. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol. Colibri, no, que diría el gato, no. I just take a medication, Clonazepam, and then I am starting using the cellular applications for guided meditation and relaxing and slowing down and disconnecting. But it's very hard for me because for the thing that I do, my brain works at 150% of its potential. It's overloaded, it's overthinking. When I'm in front of a problem, I cannot turn off my brain in order to because I told you, I mean, curiosity and perseverance and dealing with frustration are key elements in order to succeed in this. But when you have that passion, that passion sometimes become an obsession, and an obsession is something that is extreme, and nothing that is in extreme is good. You should have to find some balance in the middle of something similar to a balance. So it's not easy to disconnect because your brain, because of the things that we do, are keep you. you shut down the lights, but your brain keeps trying to find that solution to actually get the system to get access to the system. So it's not easy. Um, so learning also take a lot of courses. You might say, but that is about hacking. Still, yeah, but I consider that a pleasure. And then, okay, then watching TV series in general, documentaries. I really love stories that are really inspiring. Uh, and yeah, and and I I like actually also um I don't know. I enjoy when the weather is appropriate to go and for a walk alone in the promenade of Montevideo. Those, I mean, when you have been in prison and you have lost everything, including your freedom, and you have nothing, you don't decide. I mean, when you wake up, when you go to eat, when you take a shower, when you go outside, when you go to sleep, when you go to take your medicine, are things that are you don't decide when it is that. They decide that for you. You cannot choose. They wake you up at 7. You have to go take your medicine at 7:30. You have lunch at 12:30. You don't decide anything, but you lose everything, every control over your life, except the control is what you can think that they cannot take from you when they take out your freedom. The word thinking is something that remains in you, and you can decide what to think. So yeah, that is the key. Don't tell anybody, because yeah, the only thing that you have is thinking as a tool. So use it wisely. If you are using your thinking and your mind, setting it to a mindset of a winner, of a mindset of somebody who is going to do it, because is going to overcome that shitty situation and it's going to get out stronger than ever. All you have to do is starting by picturing yourself already having done it. And if you picture, you create. I mean, if you project in your mind something that is okay, the goal already done, and you have done it. It's the first thing in order to make it happen. If you are thinking about things that are negative, that are not going to happen, well, you're basically programming yourself in order to fail. So yeah, use that thing, that the only thing that they cannot take away from somebody that is been sent to prison and lost his freedom in a wise way. It's all you have. The tool that it's your mind, your brain, your thinking is the thing that remains with you when you have lost everything.
Alberto, um, I want to ask you a couple more questions. We're going to be wrapping this up, but it's been amazing speaking to you in regards to your story, your experiences, and your resilience of overcoming all these challenges, all these obstacles, and your way of taking everything on and just influencing people with your story. Like you can overcome a lot of things, and but yeah, I mean, you in the last 5 years, what's the most important lesson you have learned?
O- Okay, that's very interesting. Make me think. Um, the most important lesson is that actually, okay, shit happens in life. Shit happens in life, but the fastest you are in order to okay, you are being punched in the face, but not Mike Tyson, and you are lying on the floor. Okay, the person who is the fastest one in order to get up and find the way out of there and keep moving in their life is the person who is going to succeed. and is going to be doing the best in their life after being punched in the face by Mike Tyson. So basically, when shit happens in your life, okay, stand up and try to as quickly as you can see the doors that are there, and yeah, and move on as quickly as you can. The more you live in the past, you live in the situation. Yeah, the less that you will be able to recover and actually have the opportunity to become much better in what you were doing than before. So quickly adapting to changing conditions are something that really, really makes a difference between somebody who succeeds and somebody who ends up living in a world of, I don't know, sorrow and being, oh yeah, not succeeding and actually being affected by those situations in a way that that person could never recover. When that is very sad. Yeah, I have seen that in the particular case of the that I mentioned at the beginning of the Expo Gun, that there were guys that committed suicide, overdose of the, uh, yeah, they couldn't cope with that, and they were extremely skilled. I mean, they cloned the prototype of an Xbox, they stole the Apache prototype from the government of the USA. They were accused of stealing $500 million of intellectual property. Uh, yeah, those those guys, they if they had used their knowledge and skills for good purposes. Holy shit, maybe my answer to the question how's the situation regarding bad guys, criminals, and those protecting the crimes might have been different because those guys, holy shit, they really know what it is to think related to technology. Too bad they followed the bad path, and many of them died in different circumstances. It was yeah, it was very sad, but um, yeah. I learned that they are quickly adapt to the changing circumstances and move on. And yeah, and they stand up as soon as possible. There's no use on remaining on the floor complaining. Oh, this happened to me. I am a victim. Why is the world conspiring against me? Yeah, the things that happened to me are funny because everything was wrong, going bad from one day to another. I was finding myself in a situation that I said I couldn't believe this happened to me. Like, and I ended up in the intensive care unit of the hospital, being escorted by three police and three policemen escorting me, who was the less aggressive and dangerous person on earth, and in the prison. Yeah, because they confused the schedule and the shift, and they ended up being there three police escorting me. The doctor would have thought, "Wow, who is this guy? Why three policemen are surrounding this person in coma?" Yeah, no, and then okay, this is a special record. I don't mind because I have shared this. The next day after the coma, I woke up in the hospital, and who was escorting me was a very thing policeman, a woman. Uh, yeah, she started. She was working in prison. And she started talking to me very friendly. She was showing me pictures of her daughter, her son on the cellular. He was playing the violin, and at one point, because of what I have suffered, I had certain needle injected in my leg next to my genitals, and a doctor came to remove, a nurse came to remove that, and well, I was naked, and the policewoman ever since then started saying, Alberto, I saw you naked. And then when I went back to prison after all, every time she saw me in every context, she would look at me and said, I remember that I saw you naked. I was like, Jesus Christ, stop saying that. Yeah, it's so embarrassing. I mean, come on, don't do that. Shut up. And, and the woman told me when I asked her how many men, how many people she had been custody in hospital, and she told me, "You're the first. It's the first time that they sent me to be custody in they call it a masculino, femenino, a male or a man or a woman. It's the first time that they sent me to do this for a man. Imagine, it is because you are the less dangerous person on earth. I mean, there's no chance that you will ever escape or do anything. I mean, I don't know why you are handcuffed because it's the protocol, but the fact that they send me to 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 be watching you, yeah. I mean, it's like they actually wouldn't send anybody because you wouldn't escape. You are the less dangerous person in prison. Actually, you're not a criminal. The police won't tell me. They didn't consider me a criminal, even the policeman for the prison. It was so funny, but yeah, that woman kept repeating, I saw you naked, Alberto. Oh my gosh, come on, this is a prison. People should be suffering here. People should be bleeding. You shouldn't be making fun in prison. But it was so funny. The stories, I mean, yeah, it ends up with so many stories that are so hilarious because, yeah, previously, imagine prison equals to people dying, people being having fights and all that, which is, yeah, it happens, but at the same time, so many funny things happen that people don't believe, and sometimes you're afraid of sharing that with other people because they will say, "Oh, this guy was really affected. What he's telling is completely insane. That couldn't have happened." But no, it happens in prison. And don't worry, I didn't drop the soap in the shower, so don't even think about that. You don't have to ask me if something like that happened to me. No, uh, I didn't have many problems in prison. No, I was very lucky because of the crime I committed, that I was really respected there, so I didn't have that hard time with dealing with other inmates when it's pretty regular that if you are a regular inmate, you're going to be part of at one point of your study there, fight, you're going to fight with somebody, and yeah, but in my case, I didn't experience any kind of violence there by anybody. I wasn't the victim of any kind of violent event.
Alberto, my last question for you. What has been the most happiest moment of your life?
Um, okay, wow, I love it. I love it because you're asking me a question that I should answer right away, but you made me think. Um, mhm. uh, the happiest moment of my life. Okay, the happiest moments of my life. I think it was the day that I quit my job in the petrol company of my country. That is, you are a public an employee of a monopoly of the government. That and it's a company that pays the best salaries in Uruguay in the different positions. In my case, I was professional in information security. I was getting a very good salary, but I was in a organization that was corrupt. Was the culture, the organizational culture was from a century, I don't know, 100 years ago, and yeah, I was basically there from 9 till 5 every day, and there was such a frustration of that feeling of wasting my time and life there every day, going through the corridor to the bathroom, meeting the same people, and the people, some of them watching at the floor, walking and saying, huh, what a day today, it's like 2000 days left until I retire, and the next day the same thing, saying, eh, one day left to retire, and they were counting the days to retire. That is not life. I mean, we are born, we die. That is something that it's for sure. What we do during the death, being born and dying, Well, that is the only thing that we can actually choose, and we can, de- with our decisions, define the path that we follow in that period of time. uh, is it life actually to actually every day being walking through the same corridor and counting how many days there are left until you retire? Is that life when you have no opportunities of growing, or that a company that's a monopoly actually do not care about anything, and your superiors actually do not care about anything related to your work? You are somebody who's impossible to be removed from the position, and you're going to get every day every month your salary at the end of the month, no matter anything. It's impossible to get fired. Yeah, on a company like that, losing almost $1 billion in a short period in a year. Uh, okay, yeah, a monopoly of the government losing $1 billion in a year. That's crazy. The files that are actually required in order to do an auditory to review how can that have been possible with all the things that the company bought, the call for the prices to buy things disappears in some files. Um, okay, I witnessed things that were so terrible when it comes to corruption that one day I started feeling sick. I was, unlike before that I was enjoying when working in the Ministry of Agriculture, that I was waking every morning before the alarm clock, and I was so excited to go to work there. Well, in this case, the opposite started happening to me. I started waking up instead of 7, that I was waking up at 6:50 before the alarm. Well, I started waking up at 7:30, 8, 9. I started waking up because my telephone started ringing and they were calling me from the company saying, "Where are you, Alberto? Don't you forget about the meeting at 10?" And I was like sleeping like, oh my, yeah, I was getting late at all the appointments. I was like feeling really bad in general. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor okay, they sent me to perform all kind of tests to see if there was any problem with of any kind with me. I mean, tomographies, X-rays, blood tests, all kind of tests, everything. And when I got the results, I went to the doctor. The doctor read the results and said, um, "Wow, good. Well, I have good news, Alberto. Yeah, yeah, you have absolutely nothing. Yeah, there's no problem. You have no health problem." I said, "Are you fucking with me? I feel like shit. Can you tell me that?" I was so fucking irritated. And he said, "I see. Tell me, how are things, for example, in your work? Are you happy?" Okay, that in that moment I have the realization. Wow. Then I understood the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Yeah, it was obvious. I was suffering from depression. I was in an environment that was not for me, and the happiest moment of my life was the moment that was I cut my link with that company that nobody in Uruguay actually uh, resigns a job like that. Yeah, doing that for me was the happiest moment of my life, where I found, okay, now I'm free to do whatever I want. And I was starting working into blockchain, Bitcoins at that moment, and I did pretty well. But yeah, having taken the decision of giving up security and financial stability in order to go and follow my dreams, instead of having still been, I would, if I hadn't done that today, uh, almost 10 years after that, I would be still walking through that same corridor, and that person next to me would still be counting down how many days left until he retires. That is a way, it's a life that is meaningless for me. No, give me a life that is full of experiences that are gratifying, that are unique, that are making me feel that, okay, it's wonderful to live. So that was probably the happiest days of my life, and one of the decisions that I do not regret, despite of economically I'm not doing well. I mean, yeah, giving up all those things that I mentioned, but actually, on the other hand, as a reward for doing that, being happy. And there's nothing more beautiful than being happy. And for me, happiness is not related to money, material acquisitions. No, it's much more than that. It's enjoying life, and you can enjoy life just hearing a bird singing. When, again, going back, when you're in prison and you lose everything, then anything is wonderful. When you lose everything, anything is something. So every little thing that you can experience, it's something that is beautiful. And yeah, and you become happy just because you can breathe fresh air and the promenade of Montevideo, walking in the afternoon, watching how the sun is going down. Yeah, that's it.
Kelly, you got any more questions for Alberto?
No, I'm definitely super grateful, Alberto, for your time and sharing all your perspectives and stories. Some more sad, some more funnier. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche, but we had it all here. I think from romance to uh, in between brackets illegal activity. So it's really good to have had you here and been able to speak with someone who has experienced so much. And thank you for inviting me, because yeah, this was such a pleasure. Elgato, thank you, always welcome. Gracias.
Gracias,
No, gracias a
Alberto.
ti, Fernando. Muchísimas gracias por la invitación. Disculpa que tomé por asalto el espacio porque cuando me dan palabra para contar la historia, además es re gracioso y sigo hablando. No, me han invitado a muchos espacios y la historia siempre la cuento de forma diferente. O sea, agarro por un lado, o sea, existen tantas versiones de la historia como entrevista, como cantidad de veces que la he contado. No, digamos, la columna vertebral es siempre la misma, pero las cosas que cuento a veces no las cuento en otro lado, como esto que dije ahora de la mujer policía que se me veía y decía, "Ah, te vi desnudo", y yo la puta madre. Eso, bueno, eso no es, creo que acá fue la primera vez que lo conté, o sea, la historia es incluye tantos componentes que son graciosos, tristes, duros, frustrantes, o sea, en mi libro digo, es una historia que es una montaña rusa de emociones, de sensaciones, es algo que, o sea, un día estás súper arriba y el otro día te caíste de cabeza y te diste la cabeza contra el concreto, o sea, es una montaña rusa de felicidad, de desgracia, en momentos buenos, malos, de todo lo que quieras tener en términos de lo que un ser humano pueda sentir. El problema es que las palabras para describir las emociones de una persona no están hechas las palabras, no existen palabras a veces para describir lo que uno siente y bueno, se complica a veces expresar, plasmar con un texto lo que uno vive, lo que siente, pero creo que en el libro queda bastante claro. Em, y nada, muchas gracias por la invitación. Esto lo convierten en podcast o queda la grabación, ya veo que está grabado. Nada, me encantó estar acá y muchas gracias por las preguntas que me hicieron, que fueron muy interesantes y me encanta cuando me hacen preguntas que me hacen pensar, me deja muy contento. Y la pregunta particular que me queda en la cabeza es esa, ¿qué porcentaje de technical skills versus critical thinking involves hacking? Yeah, that was a very good question that I am curious now to find out, and I will not ask Grok. I will do hard deeper research. I don't trust Grok that much when he told you that uh, the most notorious hacking event in Uruguay was the 2007 hospital hacking. Yeah, yeah, fuck, I wanted to remain anonymous and I appear every day, everywhere. Be careful what you want because the universe will give you the opposite. Oh, que eres sopa dos platos. Yeah, cuidado, yo que buscaba ser anónimo en las redes sociales y no aparecer, miren dónde estoy acá rodeado de una celebridad como el gato y usted, qué cosa, el gato. ¿Me das un autógrafo, gato? Por favor.
Ya tú sabes, ya tú sabes, ya tú sabes.
No, muchas gracias Fernando, Cali, de Gato, y a la gente que está ahí abajo escuchando, muchas gracias por haberse quedado aquí. Cualquier cosa estoy a disposición de ustedes y nada, muchísimas gracias. Estuvo buenísimo. La semana pasada me encantó el espacio con Santa, entonces gracias por hacer un trabajo tan lindo.
Gracias, Alberto, y gracias por haber compartido en el podcast que hice con mi mamá, que yo sé que te vi ahí. Eso
Sí,
significa
pero yo no vi
mucho.
a tu mamá, yo no tuve a tu mamá y yo fui ahí desesperado porque quería ver esa experiencia, quería ver cómo era un podcast de un hijo con su madre, o sea, yo no me manejo a mi vieja en un espacio, es decir, sería una locura, tuve que estar ahí, pero no, sí, la propuesta me recompró, tenía que estar ahí, tenía que ver eso.
No, de hecho, eso significa mucho para mí verte a ti ahí y al gato que siempre me encanta verlo. ¿Algunas palabritas que quieras decir antes de que cierre el espacio, gato?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say it in English because this is a podcast in English. But I just wanna say that it's really like life-changing experience to listen to someone like Alberto because he's living it all. He's living like private of his freedom. Like we always take for granted our freedom, our time. He was like taken away from that, like being in prison for doing the right thing. And he always said like he wants to be anonymous, but I think the life experience of Alberto is really like reach our experience also because we can relate to that. Like sometimes, especially in Web3, we forgot about the human factor. We forgot about the person who is behind the PFP. And when you listen to this life experience, you can say like, fuck, like someone in Uruguay was taken away from his freedom for 1 year and he make a book and now he's helping a lot of people in this space. And I can relate to that also with the kitties. Like I'm doing that also, like bringing awareness from the animals in Web3 because for real, I've been struggling for like 4 years trying to bring some humanity into this space that can be so focused in the money, so focused in the transactions, so focused in this the not in the technology because we took this technology and a lot of people take it for like always about the money. And when I hear this experience like Alberto, I always love hearing his story because it's bring you back to earth. Like these social media and these technologies are made for the people to do good things in this crazy world. So I just want to thank you, Alberto. I know him for a lot of years. He always have a blast. We always have a blast with Alberto in his spaces in the cat bar. I wanted to thank you also, you Fernand, for doing these spaces 316 already. And I know how difficult it is because I make like 2,000 spaces in during these 4 years in Web3. I make more than 2,000 cat bars in Spanish, and it's really difficult to give up your time. So I always shout out you, Fernand and Cali, for doing these spaces and bring these beautiful people to share their stories, share the knowledge, the experiences. Because at the end of the day, bro, like Alberto was saying, it's not about the fucking money. Yeah, we all are into Web3 to make money, but also to enhance and to be like with surrounded with people that is making change in this world. Because the world is on flame, the problems, the negativity, and all of that. But with these stories, with this podcast, somebody who's listening right now can say, I can relate with that guy history, being in prison for doing good. And I just want to say that, and it's all about love. It's all about sharing. It's all about networking, and we have to bring that into the Web3 ecosystem. So there is a plane going by through my house. So thank you, Fernando, for doing these spaces. I always shout out to you, my brother Cali. Always also for co-hosting these spaces. I'm trying to be more in this, but I'm with my kiddies. I'm facing a lot of problems in real life, but I'm trying to be here and always bring awareness that it's not always about money. It's not always about blockchain. It's not always about memes. It's not always about Bitcoin. It's about the person behind the PFP. Thank you, Fernand. Shout out to the professor and shout out to you, Cali, also. And shout out, Alberto. Your cervecita is going to Uruguay. You
Tenés
know it,
1% de
brother.
batería,
Shout
tenés
out
un
to you.
1% de batería, gato. Está ahí, justito.
I have 23. I have 23. I have 23, brother. I have 23. But yeah, shout out to you, Fernand and Kali. And thank you for making these spaces. And love, baby. Love, 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 love. Positivity. Positivity. We need in this
Yeah,
motherfucking world. Let's go.
life is not a competition. Let's have fun.
Much love, Gato. Gracias, gracias por tus palabras y por tu apoyo. Thank you so much for being here, joining me. Quick shout out to Derek J. Much love, bro. Always been there too. An OG. And shout out to Jesse Jordan, Williams, Lilian, and El Profesor. Me encantaría tener una conversación contigo, profesor, en el futuro. Esperemos a ver. Chequea tus mensajes cuando tengas una oportunidad. Pero a todos les deseo buenas noches. A todos que have a great night. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all on the next one. Much love. Take care.
Much love, guys. Have a good night.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.